Ever feel like you messed up
Yeah.
and like need to make things right,
Mm-hmm.
really right?
Yeah.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into Leviticus chapter 7,
Okay.
where the ancient Israelites had a whole system for this,
Right.
dealing with guilt and making amends. And it goes way beyond just saying sorry.
It is fascinating how they intertwined the spiritual with the practical.
Right.
We're not just talking about, like, feelings of guilt here, but a specific offering.
Yeah.
The guilt offering,
Okay.
designed to restore balance after a specific wrongdoing.
So this is more serious than like bringing your neighbor a casserole after you accidentally ding their car.
Definitely.
Okay.
This offering was considered most holy,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it held a special significance. Only the priests could eat it.
Oh, wow.
And they had to do so in a designated holy place. It's a powerful image of the seriousness with which they approached making amends.
So no casual, oops, my bad here.
No.
But Leviticus 7 isn't all about guilt trips, is it? It also covers peace offerings, which sound a lot more fun.
Peace offerings were more about celebrating and expressing gratitude.
Okay.
They had different types. Thanksgiving offerings for blessings received, vow offerings to fulfill a promise, and voluntary offerings, just because.
And I bet there were some interesting rules about who could eat what.
Oh, yeah.
And how these feasts went down.
Absolutely.
Tell me more.
For example, the priests got specific portions from the offerings, like the breast and the right shoulder from the peace offerings.
Oh, interesting.
And some things were completely off limits for everyone, like the fat and the blood.
Wait, you can't have a barbecue without the fat. What was the deal with those restrictions?
Well, these prohibitions were deeply symbolic and tied to their understanding of life and the divine.
Right.
Consuming fat and blood was seen as overstepping boundaries and disrespecting the sacred nature of the offerings.
So it's not just about the physical act of eating, but the deeper meaning behind it.
Exactly.
And speaking of boundaries, there was also this whole concept of cleanliness and who could participate in these rituals, right?
Exactly. Ritual purity was a big deal.
Yeah.
If someone was considered unclean, maybe due to illness or childbirth, they couldn't just join the feast. It was all about maintaining a state of spiritual readiness before approaching the sacred.
So we've got these guilt offerings for making amends,
Mm-hmm.
peace offerings for expressing gratitude,
Yes.
and a whole set of rules about who can eat what and when.
Right.
But what does this ancient rule book have to do with our lives today?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
The beauty of these ancient texts is that they offer this timeless wisdom
Okay.
that we can adapt and apply to our modern lives.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about how these ancient rituals can translate into something meaningful for us today.
Well, for starters, the concept of the guilt offering can inspire us to think about how we approach making amends in our own relationships. It's not just about saying sorry, but taking concrete steps to repair the harm we've caused. So maybe instead of just sending like a quick text, you actually, you show up with that casserole.
Right.
Or offer to help fix the dent you put in their car.
Yeah, make a real effort.
Exactly. It's about demonstrating genuine remorse and a willingness to restore the relationship. And while we might not have priests, dictating who can eat what anymore,
Right.
there's a valuable lesson here about respecting boundaries
Okay.
and being mindful of the needs of others. Think about it this way. Just as someone who is ritually unclean couldn't participate in the offerings, sometimes we need to create space for ourselves or others to heal and process
Yeah.
before jumping back into a situation.
So like taking a time out before having that difficult conversation.
Exactly.
Or giving someone the space they need to work through their feelings.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the peace offerings and what they can teach us about gratitude and fostering a sense of community.
Right. Those communal meals were all about celebrating together
Yes.
and acknowledging the good things in life.
Precisely. And while we may not be sacrificing animals these days,
Right, thankfully.
the underlying principles still resonate. Think about the simple act of sharing a meal with loved ones, volunteering at a soup kitchen,
Yeah.
or even just bringing cookies to a neighbor.
It's about creating those moments of connection,
Exactly.
expressing gratitude,
Yes.
and strengthening the bonds that hold us together.
Absolutely. And just as the priests received specific portions of the offerings,
Right.
Leviticus also highlights the importance of supporting those who serve and lead within our communities.
So we're talking about showing appreciation for teachers, healthcare workers,
Yes.
community organizers,
Yes.
even the barista who makes your morning coffee.
Exactly.
Hey,
It's about recognizing the value they bring and finding ways to show our support, whether through words of encouragement, volunteering our time, or simply being a good customer.
It's like that saying, it takes a village.
Right.
We all have a role to play in creating a thriving and supportive community.
Exactly. And speaking of community, remember those restrictions on fat and blood?
Yeah.
Well, those prohibitions weren't just about the food itself.
Right.
They were about respecting the sacredness of the offerings and recognizing that some things are meant to be treated with special care.
So how does that translate to our modern world? Are we talking about being more mindful of what we consume,
Mm-hmm.
like choosing sustainable products
Yes.
or reducing food waste?
That's definitely part of it. But it goes beyond just material things.
Okay.
It's also about respecting shared resources like public parks and libraries and using them responsibly
Yeah.
so that everyone can benefit.
And even in the digital age, this idea of respecting boundaries and treating certain things with care is still relevant. Think about promoting respectful dialogue online or being mindful of the information we share on social media.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even in virtual spaces, our actions have an impact and that there are certain lines we shouldn't cross.
So, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about making amends, expressing gratitude, supporting our communities, and even respecting boundaries in the digital age.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these ancient rituals can offer so much guidance for modern living.
It truly is. And while we might not always agree with every detail or interpret things in the same way,
Right.
there's no denying that Leviticus chapter 7 offers a wealth of wisdom that we can draw upon to live more meaningful and connected lives.
But before we wrap up, I have one final thought-provoking question for you and for our listeners.
I'm all ears. What is it?
If we were to take all these incredible insights from Leviticus chapter 7 and design a modern-day piece offering ritual to strengthen our communities, what would it look like? What would we offer, and how would we celebrate?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
And one that I think each of us needs to ponder, like individually and collectively.
Absolutely, because the beauty of this ancient wisdom is that it's not a fixed set of rules,
Right.
but a source of ongoing inspiration for how we can live more meaningful and connected lives.
It's an invitation to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep finding new ways to embody these timeless principles in our own unique ways.
It's almost like we've been handed this ancient guidebook,
Yeah.
for building meaningful connections, showing gratitude, and making things right when we mess up.
And it's not about following rules blindly.
Right.
It's about taking these core principles, figuring out how they fit into our lives, our communities,
Yeah.
even our online interactions.
I love that even something as seemingly specific as like those food restrictions,
Right.
can spark a conversation about respecting boundaries and being mindful of our impact on the world around us.
It's a reminder that, like, even thousands of years ago, people were grappling with these questions of responsibility, community, and how to live a life that honors something larger than themselves.
Makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
If we were to create a modern-day peace offering,
Mm-hmm.
what would that even look like?
Great.
Would it be like a community garden,
Yeah.
a shared meal, a volunteer project?
Maybe it's all of those things and more. The beauty of it is that there's no one right answer. It's about finding ways to express gratitude, strengthen our connections, and celebrate the things that make our community special.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Leviticus chapter 7,
Mm-hmm.
we hope you're feeling inspired to explore these themes in your own life.
Yeah. Think about the ways you make amends. You show appreciation and connect with your community. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find yourself rediscovering the power of these ancient practices in a whole new way.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep diving deep.